It's interesting, Krishna, going directly to the issue of MTN. As you know, MTN has been operating here in Nigeria for many years, close to 16 years, and taking 60% of market share here in Nigeria. And no doubt the $5 billion ban that was imposed by the National Communications Council, really followed through until December, given the deadline of the 31st for MTN to respond. MTN, of course, opting to go to the courts to be able to broker some kind of agreement and settle on a fee. And this is the first time at this high level of policy and also of attention that President Muhamadu Buhari has admittedly said that he is openly speaking out about MTN and the fine. President Muhamadu Buhari, outside of the business element, really underscored the security breach. On and on, he continued to point out that MTN had indeed failed to take necessary steps to register the outstanding 5 million or so unregistered users and still continue to have them serviced. And it is that issue that really has brought about the fine with the gravity it has. It's interesting. President Muhammadu Buhari also went into the details of the fine, saying that the National Communications Commission and the security agencies were working very closely with MTN and coming to some kind of closure. But because MTN had elected to go to the courts and to follow judicial procedure, then the Nigerian government had to step back and let due process take its place. He did not conclusively say where these talks have ended, but it is surprising to see that amidst these high-level talks, MTN did surface, in a press briefing held a little under an hour ago. Krishna.
Sophia, countering terrorism in Nigeria also featured highly when President Buhari was addressing the media. And now it's interesting that his predecessor, Goodluck Jonathan's government, turned down President Jacob Zuma's proposal for a South African-inspired AU rapid response team to help combat Boko Haram. But then they yet apparently hired ex-SADF soldiers to train the Nigerian Defence Force to do so. How committed is the Buhari administration to achieving a stronger, more effective response to terror on the continent? Can we interpret this as a change of stance in the Buhari government on this one, Sophia?
Well, when President Muhammadu Buhari was elected back in 2015, this really was the center of the campaign with which he brought about a change agenda. He completely reiterated the fact that governments before him had not paid closer attention to security, having himself been, a person of, past army and really, in the forefront of fighting with ground troops. He really said that, if indeed he were elected, he would follow through on issues of security. And that's exactly what President Muhammadu Buhari has done, especially with the South African government. Before President Muhammadu Buhari continued to have the talks with President Jacob Zuma yesterday, the talks were, initially set off with the conversation on security cooperation. And there is no doubt that AU backing, with the backing of the South African government in terms of providing capacity, providing training, and anything that has been tabled by the Jacob Zuma camp is really a welcome development here in Nigeria. The number one priority for President Muhammadu Buhari over and over again has really been to eradicate the country of this Islamic extremist group, and more so believe in ties with other African countries like South Africa in making sure that other African countries are made secure, and Nigeria leading by example. Krishna.
Sophia, there have been other incidents, though, where relations were somewhat strained. That Nigerian church collapse, for example, the main complaint being there is that more lives could have been saved if Nigerians acted speedily. On the continental level, both countries, they have disagreed before. There was that post-election crisis in Court of War, and then Nigeria refused to back South Africa during the 2012 election of our AU chair, Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. What kind of impact do you think this particular visit will have on these kind of perceived strained relations, if you will?
Well, picking up on the idea that President Muhamadu Buhari has been serving in the country for less than a year, this really provides South Africa and the Nigerian government an opportunity to really, have a new beginning or a new start. And President Muhamadu Buhari did touch on that in his press address a few minutes ago, really providing a cordial relationship with President Zuma, oftentimes seen laughing and saying that the attention given to both countries in terms of providing a forum for discussion will be escalated not only to once in a while sort of, unspecified moments, but a specific annual attention paid to the relationship between South Africa and Nigeria, especially in the key areas of security and economics. I also wanted to let you know that, it's during these visits that you really see that the presidents sort of act as the spokespersons of their countries. President Muhammadu Buhari naturally, reaching out to the South African delegation and expressing a deep sorrow and a sense of, of disappointment at the lives lost here through the collapse of the building with TB Joshua. And in turn, President Zuma reaching out to the Nigerian government and expressing deep condemnation towards the lives lost through terror attacks and through the activities of Boko Haram. So you can really see that it is a fundamental shift between both leaders in terms of moving their relationship forward and providing sort of like a resting place for both countries to know that they are indeed in each other's courts. Krishna.
Sophia Adengo, thank you for your time on the News Today desk. She's tracking South African President Jacob Zuma's visit to Abuja in Nigeria. Still on his program, President Zuma is due to address the National Assembly and then later meet with the South Africa-Nigeria Business Forum. We'll be bringing you all the details on that developing story as the afternoon unfolds. Time now for a quick look at the temperatures. Oswe is standing ready.